One. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 25th audio chat on the Q News Patriot Rumble channel series. I am the Q News Patriot, coming to you today with Elections Whistleblower, Gold Star mom, mother of a fallen Navy SEAL, and a hero, I think, for we the people, Miss Tina Peters. For those of you out there who've been following the election issue closely around the nation, certainly post 2020, but perhaps even out there since 2016, 2018, when we began to see anomalies in the public space, Ms. Peters is probably not a new personality for you, but for those of you that have just come around maybe in the last couple of years, this is a person I think you're going to want to get acquainted with. In brief, the story goes that she was the county clerk for a county in the great state of Colorado during the 2020 and then subsequent, I believe, 2021 local election. And she actually discovered that there were issues going on with the systems, with the machines, et cetera. And she has been swiftly and harshly attacked for her efforts to expose what amounts to very large scale fraud in our election system, certainly at the local level, but it applies to the national level. She's been very harshly attacked for doing that. So, Ms. Peters, thank you so much for coming out today. I appreciate your time. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, SG. I'm very grateful that you're out there putting the real news out. And it's interesting. The lamestream media is now the legacy media, and it shows like yours that are actually what people have been waiting for. So thank you.
Well, it's my great honor, and quite frankly, I consider the folks that are more active with their hands in the clay at the whistleblower level to be the real heroes that we should all admire and aspire to be and look up to. And you're certainly no more big of a mold than even what we would call maybe some veteran heroes, right? You've been harshly attacked by this system. You've been jailed by this system. This system manipulated your marital situation with your husband, who himself was a vulnerable patient with a condition that impaired some decision making, and that, of course, was weaponized. And so there's been a lot thrown at you. There's been a lot that has come about as a result of this, and soon they're trying to take you to what is going to be, I think, a very publicly weaponized sort of kangaroo court situation for these allegations and crimes that you've been charged with, which themselves are sort of ironic when we consider the activities that have been uncovered, which were taken by both the state of Colorado and different agents and officers of that state, and also cyber manipulation in your particular case. So I wanted to give you just a moment, understanding that there's some things you can't comment on, you can't really get too much into because of the upcoming litigation situation. But as far as what you're able to comment on, can you give us a brief summary of how you arrived here, what turned this wonderful lady from Mesa, Colorado into really a pseudo martyr at this point for the American people, and certainly a hero that patriots out there need to be aware of?
Well, in 2016, when I was recovering from lung cancer, I told the Lord I didn't know if I was going to live or die, and I said, if it's my time, I'm ready. But my prayer. My prayer is, don't let me leave this earth until I've accomplished everything that you sent me here to do. I did get involved. I'd never been involved with politics before. I went to a volunteer meeting. I was one of 8 people, SG, and I said, oh my gosh, I thought people that were good at this politicking thing were taking care of this sort of thing, and realized that no, it's us, it's we the people. And decided to run for office. Right after I told my son, my Navy SEAL son, that I was running for office, he said, Mom, you got this. The only thing is you'll probably do more than what's required. And I kind of chuckled at that. And a few months later, he was gone. He died. He was 3 weeks from deploying to Iraq again, and he was killed in a tragic accident while on duty. So I was elected to office, and but not for what I thought I was being elected for. I was elected to, I ran for office to reduce wait times in motor V department. I was in charge of 5 divisions. The Mesa County clerk and recorder is in charge of 5 divisions: motor vehicle, elections, recording, accounting, and clerk to the board. So it's a big hat to wear. But I'd done 7 elections, and like you mentioned, I did the 2020 election. Thought I did a great job, that everything went well. I was told that we were the gold standard in Colorado. 2021 election, people kept coming to me, citizens, bringing me anomalies, and it just opened my eyes. It was the people. And so when I did a backup of our system, which you would do anytime that you were going to change something, and the Secretary of State, Jenna Griswold, very, very partisan Secretary of State, and Dominion Voting Systems were coming in to do what they called a trusted build. Isn't that interesting how something so evil, as it turned out, is cloaked in righteous sounding words? I did a backup of our system, which was totally legal, before and after they did this trusted build. And when they found out what I had done, when it came out, the criminality that they had done by doing that trusted build, and it exposed what happened in the 2020 election, 2021 election, they've gone after me with full force. So right now, in 4 weeks, I go to trial. I've been fighting since 2021. Incredible lawfare, like you mentioned. They took my husband. We would have been married 35 years. I had him sign a divorce decree while he was in a nursing home. They kicked me out of office, which you can't do, because you have to have a recall. Another elected official can't remove another elected official, but nevertheless they did that, and just terrorized my staff, me, and it goes on and on. So what we've uncovered, and of course people can go to my website and read the reports, but what we've uncovered is the belly of the beast. It's how they're cheating the elections. It's how they cheated the elections, and there's going to be more coming out, SG.
That's very incredible, I think, to highlight. And just for the audience out there to understand, I'm going to go through rather quickly here, if I can. I'm going to read just a couple of short snippets from the executive summary of the Mesa County Forensic Report that's in question here. So let's begin. This report documents the findings of an examination of tabulated vote databases based on forensic analysis of the drive image of Mesa County, Colorado's DVS election management system. The findings in this report were prepared by the authors as consultants to the legal team representing Tina Peters, the Mesa County clerk and recorder, pursuant to her statutory duties as Mesa County's chief election official. The findings provide evidence of potentially unauthorized and illegal manipulation of tabulated vote data during the 2020 election and 2021 Grand Junction municipal election. Because of this evidence, which led to the vote totals for those elections being impossible to verify, the results and integrity of Mesa County's 2020 and 2021 elections are in question. This analysis was performed using the forensic image of the EMS server, which was backed up prior to the Colorado Secretary of State and DVS overwriting the hard drive with the D Suite version of 5.13. The implications are: there was an unauthorized creation of new election databases during early voting in the 2021 election on October 21 of 2020, followed by the digital reloading of 20,346 ballot records into new election databases, making the original voter intent unknown. In addition, 5,567 ballots across 58 batches did not have their digital records copied to the new database. The same unauthorized creation of new election databases occurred during the 2021 election on March 30th, 2021, followed by the digital reloading of 2,974 ballot records, making the original intent unknown. In addition, 4,458 ballots across 46 batches did not have their digital records copied to the new database. We're going to skip down just a little bit for brevity and time. Installation of trusted build update on the EMS in May of 2021, ordered by the Colorado Secretary of State, destroyed all data on the former hard drive, including the batch and ballot records that evidenced the creation of new databases and reprocessing of ballot records described in findings 1 and 2. This destruction is described in the Mesa County, Colorado Voting Systems Forensic Examination and Analysis Report. And the final point: the fact that such ballot record manipulation has been shown demonstrates a critical security failure within this server wherever it is used. The manipulation would not be identifiable. This is important. The manipulation would not be identifiable to an election official using the system, nor to an observer, nor to a judge overseeing the election conduct, much less to citizens with no access whatsoever. Without both cyber and database management expertise and unfettered access to database records, many of which were destroyed by the actions of the Secretary of State from the EMS server, this manipulation would be entirely undetectable. So what we've occurred here, what we've evidenced out through this forensic report is that this is a very, very advanced inherent flaw within these machines that we could suppose for a moment could be designed, right? This could be very well intentional. We don't know in court record yet, but we're going to find out. And the entire apparatus of the deep state here in the United States of America, certainly localized, in the area where you're at, has engaged lock, stock, and barrel on this particular case, right? This particular individual, this grandmother and mother of a gold, a Gold Star mom, mother of a fallen soldier from Colorado. I think personally, if I may, as to sort of try and send some of a message or set some example, but quite frankly, I think the main focus for the targeting has been the fact that the evidence that you have compiled, the reports and studies that you've been able to do, and we'll go over to your website here in just a moment, they show critically beyond doubt, right? Statistically significant, conclusive information that our systems of voting and electing our officials are critically flawed. Is that fair?
That is very accurate. Yes.
So understanding that, I want to bring the audience over here then to your website, because it's important that everyone sort of sees what they are able to find here. So I'm going to do a quick screen share, if I may. But I can get this up. Here we go. This is a page available on the website, tinapeters.us/reports. This particular page gives links to the various forensic analyses that have been done on these election systems, right? It also shows a fact check that's been issued out to the Mesa County District Attorney in regards to that particular investigation. If we go down the page, we have a donate option here, which will take the audience. Let me move this out of the way here. Oh, pardon me. I don't do this very often, and so I have to move back around here. So there is selection code. Let's see if we can hide this panel. There we are. And if we come over here, we also have a donation link for those of you out there that may be pulled to support legal funding for Ms. Peters, right? Because we have to remember, and we have to know that when the deep state goes in lockstep in such a unified fashion and brings all of its resources to bear on a particular patriot, everyone, there's a reason for that, right? There's a reason that we have these situations that we do. There's certainly a reason. Let me see if I can get this over here to where I can stop the share. And there's certainly a reason to where they've actually gone after Ms. Peters, because an enormous threat currently exists, right? An enormous threat is posed by what can potentially come out mass scale nationwide regarding not just the election systems that were used in Mesa County, right, but the election systems that are being used everywhere. This is one of those threats that the deep state apparatus that we're up against identifies as a systemic-wide weakness, right? A systemic-wide problem that could create real chaos within the organized locus of control that they've established through their manipulation of electronics. And here on this program, we know that these manipulations go back several decades and have been pioneered for a very long time. Coding in these machines, some of it developed in Iran, some of it developed in Venezuela, right? Paid for by dubious groups, by cash transactions. I think it's Maria Zack from Nations in Action that identified transactions of cash to Prime Minister Renzi by the Obama administration to help organize cyber-capable election fraud at the intelligence community level. And so we know that that this system is a very, very powerful and entrenched system, and it's not going to waste its time and its energy on those threats which are not considerable in nature and which would pose a very serious problem. And I can think of no one more well-equipped to offer that than you, Ms. Peters, and thank you very much for what you're facing down. Really quick for the audience, can you give us a rundown on what is to be expected for you here in the coming weeks and maybe the coming months?
Right. Well, thank you. I am meeting with my attorneys. It's interesting that the indictment that they levied against me, the 7 felonies and 3 misdemeanors, which could send me to prison for the rest of my life, have nothing to do with the election system. It has nothing to do, the judge has already ruled I can't bring up any of the evidence of election crimes. what these indictments, and you can read those on my website, but what the indictment in the magazine, the Capital Times magazine that's on there, there's a 100-page article in that about my story. The indictments or the felonies are this: influencing a public servant, stealing someone's identity, things like that, disobeying the orders of the Secretary of State. Well, I'm not an employee of the Secretary of State. I was elected by the people to protect their election records for 25 months in the state of Colorado and 22 months in federally. But these charges are made specifically to charge me with, because I turned the cameras off, but it wasn't during an election. You don't have to have the cameras on during what they call a trusted build. They would not let the public in to see the trusted build. I'm a very transparent person. They said I influenced these people, one of them which was deleting 29,000 election records while he was sitting in front of me. And so the way they've been sly enough, and just like what they're doing with Trump, to make the charges so that you can't bring in the real evidence, which is that Jenna Griswold, the Secretary of State, should be in jail for deleting, for even allowing these machines in our state, and of course allowing Dominion to be a vendor, or any. It's not just ENS, it's not just Dominion, it's ENS. All of them, Hart, InterCivic. So this is the thing. And then they have these NGOs and these organizations like the Colorado County Clerks Association, who the director is, his wife has worked for Dominion for 2 decades. So they have them giving all kinds of propaganda to the clerks in the state, the 64 county clerks. And it's just a big cover up. So what they're hoping to do is, SG, is they're hoping to put me in prison. And most of the public, when you have a jury, most of the public doesn't understand all this that we understand about what's going on, but they want to show that I secretly went in. I had someone that was an employee to make an image of the system, which was totally legal, and that I was secretive about it, that I turned off the cameras, things like that. So these are the things they're clinging on to convince a jury that I was the one that was the villain. I was the one that was a criminal, when in actuality, it was definitely an op to keep these election records from being destroyed.
I mean, this is literally, I'm sitting here listening to this story, and it just continues to come back to me, the dubiousness of the various crimes leveled at former President Trump, many of which in the same vein and for some of the same reasons, right? And we can see it clearly on display. We can see the wanton weaponization, the dubiousness that is on purpose, right? Because if you provide a vague charge, then you can provide a vague reason for an end result verdict, right? And so, and you can utilize the vagueness of that to make certain arguments in people's heads. You can influence juries at the prosecutorial level. I'm not saying that they will do that, but I'm saying that by virtue of what's occurring, these are possible outcomes in this scenario, which lead to an overarching weaponization of the judiciary process, of our due process here in the United States of America, right? The court systems, the judiciary is supposed to be the last bulwark, that standalone Goliath in the background that is always for we the people and is always championing our first 10 amendments, right? The U.S. Bill of Rights and the various named privileges and rights that we have, as just by virtue of being human beings here in this world, living free under God. And so, unfortunately, I think that we've seen, especially in this process, that this last bulwark of freedom here within the United States of America has been a very, very hijacked operation for quite a while, frankly, that we've seen nepotism, as you discussed a moment ago, that we've seen bribery, corruption, blackmailing, threatening, different influential individuals in communities finding themselves wrapped up in broader schemes and realizing that those schemes are so powerful and so effectively entrenched that to deviate from those schemes will result in imminent harm to them and their families. So they perpetuate these schemes, right? This is how these things play out. It's very much an old school corruption here that we've known, I think, as as we, the people, for a very long time, we've passed down the ethos, the theme of much of this corruption throughout oral tradition, throughout our history, because that is the spirit of man, I think, is to pass along our experiences, what we've learned, and seek always to improve the betterment, to improve, to find the better result for the society that we're a part of. Ms. Peters, it's my understanding that this constellation of different charges will be headed to some sort of process and trial situation in the month of February. Is that true?
Yes, you broke up a little bit toward the end. Can you repeat just that last part?
I was saying that the constellation of charges that have been leveled against you will go for some sort of jury process and some sort of eventual adjudication in the month of February. Is that a fair statement?
That's right. That's right. So jury selection starts February 7th, and the trial starts February 9th. It's supposed to go through the 21st of February. So it's quite an intensive trial. And they're going to try to prove that I was being secretive, that I broke the law, that I had someone unknown in there, that I stole someone's identity. I mean, all these trumped up charges that are incredible. What they want to do is they want to make me the sacrificial lamb. They cannot have other elected officials or election officials questioning the elections. And we saw this in January 6th. That's what January 6th was all about. No, we're going to make a coup, make it look like a coup, bring in our actors, make you look like the criminal, so that we can show you that if you do stand up against us, we will take you down. And that's they're demonic. They have a world agenda, as we know, to destroy the United States. And what better way to do that but to put someone in jail that will send a chilling effect across this whole country for anybody that would try to stand up and be a whistleblower. But I think it's going to have the opposite effect, regardless of the outcome, whether they put me in prison or I'm acquitted. I believe that the people in this country, it's going to be a huge wake-up call. And I pray to God that people do wake up now to see what's happening.
I think that we're well on our way. And the fact that so many individuals out there have chosen to place a great deal of trust in me to bring content like this to the people and to the masses is certainly not lost on me. And I will be forever appreciative of the platform that has been afforded to me. And Ms. Peters, I will be forever appreciative also of the work that you're doing right now. We stand with you here at QNP. I understand that while you're not able to ask for donations, and I appreciate the humility in that, I would like to implore the audience out there to consider supporting Ms. Peters if possible. If you look at your flow chart for the month and you have a little bit extra you could send out, because we the people have to stand against the transnational interests that have essentially limitless funding and a large amount of captured positions throughout our institutional structures that are on their side. But with God and with one another, I think that we prevail at the end of the day. And Ms. Peters, it's been an honor and a privilege to have you on.
Thank you, SG. I appreciate that. The legal defense fund is set up. It has a trustee. I don't see what goes into it. It's all separate from me. There is a Give, Send, Go /Tina Peters that is for my personal, help there. But whatever anyone can do to help and sound the alarm, get this show out, make people aware of what's going on, go on and share the reports, share selection code, get the magazine that has the Capital Times magazine that's on the website. I don't make anything from that. That goes right to the editor of the magazine. But it's 100 pages outlining the whole truth that most people haven't seen. And just wake up your neighbors, wake up your friends and family. Our time's short. And here's the other thing, SG, is that on the ballot here in Colorado, and I'm sure it's going to be in other states, is ranked choice voting. And they're sneaking that in very quietly, but I guarantee you, as the time gets closer, there'll be a lot of money poured into advertising to hoodwink the people to believe this is a good thing. And this, if they get this passed, we will never in my opinion, get rid of the machines. They will say there's no way you can hand count this election because it's ranked choice voting and it's very complicated. I've talked to people in other countries, and of course we know what happened with Alaska. So it's on our ballot in Colorado for 2024, and we need folks to speak out about the evils of it, because we will never be able to prove who really won. So I just want to draw your attention to that coming up.
Thank you so much. And you draw attention to that, and also the fact that this is a battle of good and evil, right? These are machinations happening in the background to offer we the people worldwide a choice. What will we choose? Will we choose freedom, liberty, and sovereignty, or will we choose persecution and punishment? And it's been a great honor to have you here to choose the sovereignty.
Thank you. Thank you. I love you guys. Thank you.
Folks, thank you very much for joining us today. This is SG Anon. I'll be back with each of you again soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.